Chris,
Go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
talk about your book first. That's coming out. It's coming out this year, right? Spring?
Well, I hope so. It's hard to write a book. It takes a long time, and after having two previous installments that both hit the New York Times bestseller list, is a lot of pressure. So you really got to spend a lot of time on it, and I've been kind of lazy when it comes to book writing over the last little bit. So much stuff going on, especially with Robot Combat League and all these other things I've been doing. So you really got to put a lot of concentration into it. So hopefully it'll be done this year, but I'm not sure if it will be or not. Just don't tell my publisher I said that.
How do you marshal your career? Because you've got so many aspects to it, and I'm just wondering how you find time to, pursue your profession and all of the things that come with it.
Well, I think you just kind of, in one way, kind of answered that question. Like when I was a kid, I wanted to be in a rock band and I wanted to be a wrestler. Those are two things that I kind of had real passion for. But they're both very similar. A lot of creative things to do. And when you work in the WWE for as long as I have, or in wrestling in general, it really is show business boot camp. You learn a little bit about everything. So I never really sat down and said I want to be, a game show host or a giant fighting robot host. But it all kind of stems from the same place, which is being, you have to connect with the crowd. You have to be able to be a showman. You have to be able to make sure that people are interested in what it is that you're doing, and make them entertained when they turn the channel on and see you. So even though you might think, oh, this wrestling is strange, or music, or even when I did Dancing with the Stars, all these things, it all comes from the same place, which is just all being a charismatic performer that people enjoy seeing. So it's really not that far off when you think about it. And as far as, how do I juggle all these things, it kind of, you just have to kind of pick and choose what you're doing. I'm not wrestling right now. You can't do everything all at once. So when something like Robot Combat League comes up, it's such an interesting, unique opportunity. You have to drop other things to take advantage of it. But like I said, it's all kind of where I'm going now. You can't wrestle forever, so you have to kind of branch out to do other things. But it all comes from within, being a creative person.
When did you
Bruce,
find
what's
the?
up- why is it so
Sorry, just
fun?
one.
Why is it so fun, and what's the show about for somebody listening to this?
The show is basically, the basic concept is 8-foot tall fighting robots that are controlled by human beings, by a two-man team. If you've seen the movie Real Steel, or if you've seen Terminator, it's kind of like that. And when you hear the show, when I first heard about it, I thought, okay, these are going to be like robots that maybe you see like, in a 60s sci-fi movies, right, like Rock'em Sock'em type thing. When I saw this robot walk out towards me when I was in the combat arena, if it didn't stop, I would have ran away. It's 8 foot tall. They move fast. They punch hard. They have 2,000 psi's per punch. So they're decapitating each other. They're cutting each other in two. They're damaging each other. These robots are $1 million creations that when you put them up against each other, it's like putting Lamborghinis into a demolition derby. It's almost like you've never seen anything like this before on television, and when you hear it, it sounds interesting. When you see it, it'll blow your mind that technology has advanced to this point. It's like something, like I said, that you see in a Terminator movie, like if you remember the scene where they go into the future, and it's the post-apocalyptic place, and they're walking across the human skulls, if you remember that. That's what these things are like. And they each have an identity, they each have a different look, so you really do forget after a while that they're robots. They actually do become living, breathing entities that are controlled by by the human beings.
No, I played with the robots from Real Steel.
Yeah.
The junket for the movie, and they
Right.
were actual physical models that worked, but they were real touchy.
Yeah.
In 2 years,
This is the next step, and actually this show was actually in development before Real Steel came into play. So it's kind of, it's perfect time to say, have you seen the movie Real Steel? Because this is kind of a similar thing. They move so fast, and what you do is you put on an exoskeleton. You stand on top of the arena. When you punch, the robot punches. When you duck, dodge, dive, dip, the robot does the same thing. The other person in the team controls the movement. So it really is a combination of boxing and Star Wars. It's the best way to be able to describe it. And the first day I walked on set, George Lucas was there because his daughter is one of the contestants, and which is, anytime you walk on set for the first time and see George Lucas, you know it's going to be a cool show. And I was like, is that George Lucas? So when I went and talked to him about it, I was like, isn't it strange for you to see these creations that you dreamed of 40 years ago, and they're now in front of you doing this for real? So it just shows how technology's advanced. In those 2 years since Real Steel, it really has progressed to that.
Talk a little bit about his daughter as one of the contestants.
His daughter's one of the contestants. His daughter is actually an MMA fighter for real. Her name is Amanda Lucas. and she is one of the two team members for one of the robots. She's one of the controller fighters, because we have a bunch of different contestants from a whole cross section of America. There's MMA fighters, there's Army colonels, there's Taekwondo fighters, Olympic athletes. So there's a whole bridge of people that are doing this. Some are trained fighters, some are not, but it's more about the strategy of how to work these robots and how to work together with your team. So that's another whole aspect. It's like a big mechanical onion. The more layers you